everybody. This is Fletcher Wheaton with RE Mexico, and I'm here with my coworker Alex Hugeson, and we are going to be discussing a topic that just recently came up for me. And before we get rolling, Alex, how you doing today?
Good morning, Fletcher. How are you?
Doing pretty good. We're in Cabo, so we're not doing too bad.
It's all good.
And let's get right into it, Alex. I had somebody reach out recently, and this is not the first time I've got this question, but we're asking, what is Tezal? And for me, Tezal is such a great area. This is where you and I both live. A lot of other locals that I know that live here live in Tezal. But Tezal offers great ocean views of the bay of Cabo San Lucas. A lot of areas have like the arch views. And anyway, how would you define the Tezal area?
It's a great question. I'm not even sure if there is a legal definition for Tezal, but I think most people consider it, sort of refer to that entire hillside overlooking Cabo San Lucas down onto the bay as El Tezal. If you had to define it geographically, I would say it's from, about the bridge at the country club, just east of Walmart, all the way to the bridge at Punta Ballena or Santa Carmela. Again, I'm not sure if it's even legally defined, but that's what I think of as El Tezal.
Yeah, I would call it there too. And once again, the great thing is that the elevation changed. And due to the fact that most of the land in Tezal is zoned for 2-story, 3-story, 4-story, the fact that you can't have billboards here, all of that provides you probably a very good opportunity that you're going to have some form of ocean view, depending on what level you're on and things like that. I've even heard people try to define the area by the Rio, where they have a lot of condos going up, like Amatera, and they got a new project happening there, as Tezal. I don't really consider that Tezal. Do you?
Again, I'm not sure what the official designation is, but for some reason in my mind, anything on the ocean side of the highway, so all that stuff down, whether it be Santa Carmela or Punta Ballena, or like you mentioned down by the Rio, I don't think of that as El Tezal, but maybe it is. El Tezal to me is, again, the hillside. The reason it's so great is basically because of the shape of the land. As it pulls back from Cabo, it goes up. There's little sort of vagaries to the land that allow developers to put projects here and projects there that gain different views. There's a lot to work with, and you can see why it's so popular with developers and the people that end up living there.
Yep. And one of the reasons why Tezal is so hot is because there's still a bunch of land and there's a lot of new development. And a lot of the inventory on the MLS right now is pre-construction. So one of the areas that we want to focus on for this conversation is what I refer to as the Golden Mile. Once again, I just kind of made that up, but it's going to be really nice. The road there is not paved yet, but I'm talking about the area from Rancho Paraíso up to like Solaria, where you have really nice hikes and everything. You have a ton of developments going on there. You got Mistiq, Tramonti Paradiso. There's a new one called the Arc coming. Arcamar starting right there. Oceana is another one. You have a really nice community called La Vista. And then Solaria is just about finished too. And I would say that this area you're probably looking at maybe a $300,000 price point and up, just because you really do have such incredible views of the bay. But what do you think about that area?
Well, I agree with you, and I love that name, the Golden Mile. So let's just call it that from now on. But what's neat about it is it's anchored by some things. I mean, what's exciting about it is what's coming, but what's great about it is it's anchored by some really established communities. For example, Rancho Paraíso, which is Paraíso, excuse my pronunciation, would be at the the west end of the Golden Mile. I mean, that's been there forever. I know lots of people live in there. And then at the far end, you've got Solaria, which is a newer development, but it's now up and running and people are living in there. And then the space in between, you've got La Vista, and then you got some private homes, and then everything else is being filled in there. And one of the advantages I have I'm coming on, I can't even count anymore. I think I'm coming on year 16 of living in Cabo and living in El Tezal the whole time. I've walked through that area, I've hiked through that area. And back during the crash, 2008, 2009, you had a few developers start a couple little projects, and then that land sat empty until I'm gonna go probably about 2 years ago. Fletcher, that people started, you started to see the signs come in and the bulldozers and start to pop up. And as we look at it now, you can see there's a lot of projects coming out of the ground, and there's other ones that you can see where they're getting ready to come out of the ground. So super exciting. That area there, what's great about it is you're just far back. You're not going to get any highway noise. You're going to get those great views. You got all kinds of neat commercial stuff coming in, like with Plaza Nova down here. You're right up the hill from the new Fresco from Home Depot. It's just a very convenient and beautiful place to live and or vacation.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big thing too, being away from the highway. I would like to say too, a lot of the projects coming in are these new established developers, like this project Mistiq, which is pretty much, to my knowledge, almost 100% sold out right now. I think it's around 80 condos that are high end. And this developer Mistiq, they literally did the exact same building in Tulum. No ocean views, but this building where Mistiq is just has incredible ocean views. So you're starting to see established developers come here, whether they're from the Riviera Maya, they're from, maybe they're based in Mexico City, and they were doing projects in Riviera Maya, and they're saying it's getting a little bit competitive. There's not as much land there, and they start doing projects here. And we're starting to see some publicly traded companies even come in here, whereas maybe 5-10 years ago, that wasn't really the case. So from a developer's perspective, the bar has been raised. And that's the good thing about this area. When you get to that price point, you're going to be working with a solid developer.
Yeah, the game's gotten a lot more serious around here. As I mentioned, back during the previous cycle when we had that unfortunate crash, I couldn't tell you for fact, but I'm fairly sure that all those development lots have probably changed hands since then to now. And unfortunately, a few of the smaller developers that tried to get this going, what would have been about 12 or 14 years ago, aren't with us now. And so you've got these, the people coming in now have to be a lot more established. They have to have a reputation, a good one. And they have to be serious developers, as opposed to some of the I don't want to say anything bad about some of the things that are happening here before, but it wasn't as solid a development community. Sorry, it wasn't as solid a developer community 12 years ago as it is today. These are all recognizable names.
Exactly, 100% true. And just to touch on some of the pre-construction projects that I like in Tezal, I really like the Santa Carmela area because we spoke about this earlier, Alex. It's not like that Golden Mile stretch that we're talking about. You have incredible views of the bay, whereas the Santa Carmela area, it's more of like a panoramic view of the Sea of Cortez. And depending on where you're at, I know a lot of the penthouses at Tramonti, you have great views of the arch too. But there's this one development that I really like. It's called Cabo Costa. It's a developer with 40 years of experience. That's right across from Tramonti. And Tramonti's a very successful project, and it's priced up here, whereas Cabo Costa is right here. But I believe when it's built out, it's going to be on par with Tramonti. And once again, that's why I really do like pre-construction, because you are getting that quote unquote developer's discount. Another project that I like is this one hasn't really been officially announced, but it's a developer from the Riviera Maya, Tao, Mexico, and they're coming in front of Ventanas Phase 2. And that project is called Monte Rochella, and the designs for it are absolutely beautiful. And once again, you have somebody that's done, I think they've done 1,500 units construction in the Riviera Maya, and this is their first project in Cabo. And talking to them, they are really excited about doing more. And like I said, you have publicly traded companies coming in now and whatnot. But are there any projects that you really like that are happening in Tezal?
Well, aside from the Golden Mile, and I guess if we name that the Golden Mile, we got to come up with a name for that other strip you're talking about. I guess if you get to the end of the Golden Mile on the east end and head down, you're in that sort of Santa Carmela area you're talking about with Tramonti. And again, one of the beauties of El Tezal is you've got a completely different perspective there. You've got, like you mentioned, the arch to the right and straight ahead Sea of Cortez views. So that's kind of the newest up and coming part of Tezal, but let's not forget some of the more established ones, like you were talking about Ventanas. The Ventanas group is probably the largest standing developer in the area now. They've built 1, 2, 3, and they've built all kinds of stuff around here, but all that stuff up the hill, and I know I'm pointing and nobody knows where I'm pointing, but that stuff up below phase 3 of Ventanas, where you've got kind of amazing, you're going to be looking at the arch and Land's End from a slightly different angle, but you're going to have beautiful city views, and you're also going to get great sunsets, because one thing we don't think about in El Tezal is sunsets, because we basically get the sunrise. But if you're over on this side, you're now picking up, depending on how high you are, I don't know if you're going to see the sun sinking into the ocean, but you're certainly going to see it going down behind the mountains on the far side of Cabo San Lucas. So anything up in there just gives you an amazing perspective. Anything over by the Santa Carmela corridor gives you a completely different, more Sea of Cortez perspective. And then your Golden Mile is kind of right in between, giving you both.
Yeah, and another advantage about Tezal, and Alex, you and I both live in Tezal. There's a lot of locals that live in Tezal, and it's really close. You can get into town depending on where you're at. That might be a 5 or 10 minute drive just to get into town. And just, I have a lot of people reach out, and I think Cabo San Lucas is just this huge party scene. And while there is that closer to downtown in the marina, at certain times of the day or the night, in Cabo San Lucas, like in Tezal, there's many people just like you and me that are raising their families here that, we're not in that, but we can easily get to that. For example, if it was a rental unit and people were coming in to have a good time, they can stay in Tezal and they can get into downtown Cabo really quickly, but at the end of the day, a lot of locals live here. And it's really centrally located. You can get to grocery stores, you can get to downtown, you can get pretty much anywhere very quickly just because of location.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what locals are looking for and what tourists are looking for, there's a lot of similarities. Don't necessarily paint an area as for one group or the other. I mean, we all want nice views. We all want some peace and quiet. Well, maybe there's the party crowd that wants to be downtown, but when a family comes on vacation and they rent a place in El Tezal, they got their views, they got the pool, they got the convenience, they got the access to town. As a lot of the commercial activities have grown up around here. They added the new fresco. Of course, Costco's been there for 10 plus years. So it's convenient for locals and tourists. And I can tell you in my development here, we've got 40 something homes. I would say, and I guess this is just completely off the top of my head, I would say probably 50% are full-time residents. Another 25% of that are people that just visit it as a vacation home, and then another 25% are rented out. So the mix in my little neighborhood, I think, is probably pretty indicative of the rest of El Tezal.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Yeah. And so I think anybody listening got a really good description of Tezal, because I do get that question, Alex, when we started off. There is a couple of great areas, but we can define Tezal as centrally located, great views, away from the noise, and just a lot of development going on. And it's where a lot of the growth in Cabo is happening right now. So anyway, we want to keep this one quick and short and just give you guys a little bit of information. Anything else you want to add, Alex?
No, other than, like I said, I've never lived in any other neighborhood. I've lived in 3 or 4 different houses in El Tezal, and then, we bought the one we're sitting in here now. I can't imagine living anywhere else in Cabo, to be honest.
That's the exact same with me. I've lived in Tezal ever since I've been in Cabo. So cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions, please reach out to Alex or I. We are with RE Mexico, and you can visit us at caborealestate.com. Thank you for your time. And Alex, thanks for chiming in and giving us some information there.
My pleasure, Fletcher. Thanks for including me.